right, world. Top of the morning to you. Where y'all at this morning? Let the world know what part of the country you're in and your brand. Name of the business that you're building. You're building a brand. Introduce yourself. We're going to get started here in a second. How are you guys doing this morning? I'm excited, blessed. I had a good time last night with my team. Grew. A lot of people took advantage of our Cyber Monday deal to join the Black Wealth Movement. So I'm excited about that. But I need to get my intro music ready. I think the speaker is on this side. That's what I want to do. All right. Go ahead and share this out if you have not already. And let me just cue up my intro music. I'm going to rock with part 2 of the 10 things about money you absolutely have to discuss before getting married. All right, here we go. I heard something sizzling. Let me make sure I'm not about to burn down the house. All right, let's do it. Now something else is sizzling, but I think I'm good there. All right. Good morning, Black World, and welcome to Talking Money in the Morning Live with your main man, H. Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the Black community, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur, where I do my absolute best to bring practical yet proven wealth building strategies to working men and women all over this great nation of ours. It's truly an honor, privilege, and a blessing to be able to come to you live and direct from the Monetize My Life Academy studios here in St. Louis, Missouri. Guys, if you are building a business and you're not focusing on building a brand, you are not building a sustainable business. You are not building a business that you could walk away from and it still produce for you. So Monetize My Life Academy will help you turn your passions and know-how into profits. We will show you what you need to do to package and present that passion, that know-how into the marketplace so you can make some passive income. Anybody cool with passive income? There's a lot of things that you know that are stuck up in your head, but you're not getting paid for those things. You're getting paid for things that you're doing, but like Trevor Ott said, there's more in what you know than what you do. So you want to start getting paid for what you know as well as what you do, because guess what? When you're getting paid for what you do, there's only a limited amount of money you can make because there's only 24 hours a day. When you get paid from what you know, then you can make money 24/7, and it's no limit to how much money you can make. So to join Monetize My Life Academy, it's just $20 per month. All you do is go to www.monetizemylifeacademy.com, click on the red button to start your subscription. Don't freak out. It says $97 per month because that's what it is actually worth. But you're going to enter coupon code only $20, ONLY $20, and you're going to get the discount. You're going to be able to get in there for just $20 per month. You got to at least get in there for 1 or 2 months, man. Look at all the stuff that's downloadable, all the courses you can take while you're in there. So if you only need, 2 months of education, then you're going to be amazed at the education you get for 2 months. If you need it for 6 months, I'm constantly adding to that site and bringing valuable content, bringing guest trainers on to train and all that good stuff. So monetizemylifeacademy.com. And enter coupon code, all caps, ONLY $20 for the discount. Do me a huge favor if you're checking this out on YouTube. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you have not already subscribed to the channel. And then go ahead and copy the link to today's show and share it on your favorite social media timeline, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you like to share content. Share this show as well. Same thing for you guys on Facebook. If you have not already shared the stream, go ahead and hit the share button so that we can compete with the ratchetness by the way that you engage with a show that tries to bring positive energy every morning. So the more that you like, comment, share, engage with the show, the more Facebook will push it out to more and more people. So, and you know what? I'm just thinking, did I share the show myself? Maybe not. But yeah, you absolutely want to do that for me. And then make sure that you are on the show to get the notifications that when we go live, not just with this show, but I'm trying to bring this type of content throughout the day. I do sometimes called a lunch and learn about 3 days a week to give you some more information on wealth building and strategies and building your business and building your brand. So you want to stay connected with the page as much as humanly possible. Today's show is also brought to you by the Black Wealth Movement. If you guys missed our Cyber Monday sale, where we were allowing you to join for just $10 to start and then $35 per month, I'm sorry, but $35 to start is still a very, very good deal. So you can join the Black Wealth Movement for $35 and then $35 per month. And we'll teach you all that you need to know about building multi-generational wealth. Anybody cool with generational wealth? You sick and tired of the next generation having to start over from scratch? Every single generation, we're starting over from scratch. So we want to change that and flip that dichotomy. So we do that with a systematic approach through a partnership with a company called MyEcon. And that's what we do. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you've never seen the show before, then I just want to let you know really quickly that this show is for risers and grinders. If you're ready to get out and get something, then this is your show. This show is for legacy builders. We're looking for people who want to know how to build a legacy, make some tough sacrifices so the next generation can be better off than we are. Then this is your show. On the other hand, who is the show not for? If you're that type of person that's got a problem for every solution, we politely and collectively ask that you exit stage left. We have a very low tolerance for pessimistic people. It's all about being optimistic and positive all the time. That's the only way to really get through this life and have any amount of success. So today's show is all about part 2 of the 10 things or 10 topics about money you need to discuss before you get married. Now, if you're already married, don't feel bad. Some of this stuff you need to throw on the table right now so you and your significant other can get on the same page. So really quickly, we're just going to recap what we talked about yesterday. And the quote of the day was 43% of people that got married didn't even know their spouse's income range. 43% of married people, when they got married, didn't even know their spouse's income range. You don't have to know exact dollar amount, but you making 30, 40, $50,000 a year, put me in the ballpark so we can, as we build. So what are the first 5 we discovered yesterday that you should be talking about? Income and assets, right? You want to know, basically the way that this article, and this came from Sage Couple, the way the article breaks down, it says what you want to know, and then it gives you some more tactful ways of discovering what you want to know without sounding crazy. So what you want to know is you want to know how much your spouse makes. You want to know how much they have in their checking, savings, and retirement account. You want to know, do they have a trust fund? Do you want to know if they're heir to some sort of fortune? But you don't want to sound like a gold digger. You don't want to sound impolite or nosy. So there's a way that you can attack those questions. So instead of saying, hey, how much money you make, you can approach the subject by saying, hey, what is your approach to saving money, right? How have you started putting away money in your retirement account? What's your favorite strategy for building your retirement? So you can get on the subject of talking about this stuff without being so very direct. Do you currently invest in the markets? What's your favorite instrument? Stocks, bonds, mutual funds? Can you recommend a good money manager or who manages your investments, right? These are ways that you can broach the conversation and just start talking about it in generalities, and you can pick up a lot based on their answers, their general answers about what they're doing for themselves personally. Has your family provided you financial help in the recent years, right? You want to know, is the way they deal with money, is it because they don't care too much about money because they got a ton of money coming to them in some sort of trust? Or you want to know this stuff about your spouse. Second thing you got to talk about is you got to talk about credit card debt. What do you want to know? You want to know, do you live beyond your means? You want to know, are you knee deep in credit card debt? You want to know, have you paid mountains of interest? You want to know, do you expect me to help you pay this credit card debt when we get married? That's what you want to know. But you just don't come out and say it because you come off feeling judgmental or insensitive. So how do you talk about credit card debt? Well, say, hey, how do you prefer to pay for purchases? You like debit, cash, or credit, and why? And you might get the answer, man, I charge everything. I just swipe my credit card for everything, and then I pay everything off at the month. So you get an idea that this person loves using credit, right? And you got to be careful about that. Nah, I don't believe in credit. I just use straight cash, homie. You guys remember when Randy Moss got fined that $75,000 or whatever it was for fake mooning the crowd? And they said, man, how did you pay that bill? He said, straight cash, homie. So you want to know that you can approach that conversation by saying, hey, how do you prefer to pay for your purchases? You use credit, cash, or debit? Why? Why do you do that? And you can get into their head about how they feel about credit. How do you feel about carrying credit card balances? Are you the type of person that pays your balance off every month? And if they say, nah, I pay the bare bones minimum every month. That's all I pay. They send me the bill and I just pay what they tell me I owe. Then you know that they're racking up interest. That interest is compounding if all they're paying is a minimum. So you know they got credit card debt, right? If you have credit card debt, how are you tackling your credit card debt, right? So what's up, Justin? So you kind of, you know, what's your approach to getting out of debt? That's another good thing that you can talk about without saying, hey, are you in debt? Now, what's your approach to getting out of debt? And they might say, well, I don't have any debt. I don't have any credit cards. And then, yes, right. And then do you track your credit score? What app are you using to track your credit score? So it's a good way to broach that conversation without, coming off overbearing. Number 3, you got to talk about student loans. You got to talk about student loans. And one of the things that what you want to know, again, here's what you want to know. How much debt did you rack up getting your college degree, your master's, your PhD, or whatever? Will you make any money once you graduate? You want to know this stuff. This person might have a master's degree in underwater basket weaving. And you're thinking to yourself, how are you going to get a job to pay back $100,000 in debt for going through a master's program for underwater basket weaving. Right? So you want to know that because they're bringing that debt into the marriage. Right? Do you expect me to help you pay off this $50,000 in student loan that you racked up before we even got married? So you want to know how the person thinks when it comes to this kind of stuff. But you don't come right out and ask them, hey man, you got all this student loan debt. I know you don't think I'm going to help you pay for that. You ask them, hey, did you have to take out any student loans to get your debt, to get that degree? How do you feel about student loan debt? You know, we had kids. Would you want them to take out loans, or how would you feel about that? Yep, I took out a loan, so it ain't nothing wrong with them taking out loans. Okay, now you're getting to start to understand the psychology of this person's mindset when it comes to money and things of that nature. Do you ask them, what's your approach to reducing the interest rate on your student loans? I don't know. I don't even know how much interest I'm paying. Ding, that's a clue. That's a clue, right? What's your approach to paying off your student loans? How are you tackling your student loan debt? What kind of strategies do you have? Because I got a little bit myself. I'm trying to see what's the best strategy to getting rid of it. And they might say, I just got a forbearance right now. I'm going to take a class every semester so I can keep pushing it off. And you're like, wait a minute, you're going to keep paying for a class, for one, and with no real intention of ever getting a degree, but the only reason you're taking a class is so that you put off paying your student loan. See, people have crazy strategies and stuff like this going on in their head and their mind. You need to know this about your mate before you enter a long-term contractual agreement. Because the minute you say, I do, his student loan debt becomes your student loan debt. Her student loan debt becomes your student loan debt. And you need to know how you guys are going to handle that up front. Number 4, money management. You want to get an idea of this person's overall money management skills and processes, right? What you want to know is, are you on top of your game or are you a hot mess? That's what you want to know, right? You want to know, I don't enjoy money. Can you do everything, please? Right? You want to know if this person is even capable. If you're the type of person, I know a lot of women who love for the man to handle the money, but if you're the type of person that you're relying on him to do it, you might want to interview this brother and see what kind of money management skills he actually has. What's up, Lewis and Lewis, LLC? Hey, Marilyn. You want to understand that this person, but you don't want to sound controlling and you don't want to sound disinterested. So here are some ways that you can broach that topic. What app are you using to keep up with your spending and saving? What app are you using to keep up with your spending and saving? What you mean app? I don't track that, man. As soon as it comes in, it's going out, and that's just how I live. That's how I roll. So you take a mental note. Okay, that's how you roll. I understand. Now, for you, this might not be a deal breaker, but this might just mean that you make some different decisions when you guys do get married based on, hey, this guy, this gal ain't on their stuff when it comes to money, so I'm going to have to be on top of my stuff and theirs if we get married, and I have the skill set to do that, right? So you need to know this. Do you have an app on your phone to check your accounts? How often are you checking your accounts? Well, what kind of monitoring system do you use to monitor your accounts and your spending, right? This kind of gives you a clue. Do they check their accounts once a month, once a year, every 5 years, or whatever? That gives you a clue onto whether they're on top of their game or they're just winging it. Do they have a plan or are they just freestyling, right? What kind of budget app do you use? I don't keep no budget. It's all right here. Okay. Nothing wrong with it being all right there. I just need to know that it's all right there. Because if you're the type of person that is all right here, and I'm the type of person that like to have stuff on paper and I like to make lists. My wife is a list making, she loves the list. I have listed all down. I had it organized. Here's what we owe. So you need to know that about your mate. Are there certain things you dislike when it comes to managing your money? Right? These are questions that you can just talk about. Now, of course, you don't sit them down in one sitting and ask all of these questions, but over the dating relationship, you should be throwing one of these things out every day. You try to get an understanding about where you are managing. What's your favorite strategy? What's your best advice you can give me for money management? I don't know. I just make money and I spend money. Right? So you want to know where this person's head is when it comes to money. Number 5, you want to talk about their upbringing. Right? Why is upbringing important? Because what you want to know is, did growing up poor or rich mess you up? Because you guys know whether you grew up rich or whether you grew up poor, depending on how that situation played out or how you perceive that situation, it could mess you up mentally. Even if you grew up rich, that could mess you up mentally. If you grew up poor, that could mess you up mentally. You could be off balance a little bit. So you want to know if this person is messed up because of their upbringing. Were you raised by wolves and that's why you don't know anything about money management? Right? You want to know, why do you sound like your mother or your father every time we argue about money? These are things that you want to know, but you don't necessarily come out and ask them because you don't want to be too blunt. You don't want to be confrontational or seen as judgmental. So what you do is you say, hey, how did your parents manage money when you were growing up? Simple way to breach the conversation. Hey, do you ever remember your parents arguing about money? Man, my parents argued about money every day. So all they did was fuss and fight about money. That's a clue. That's a hint. How do you feel about your money? How did you feel about your family's money situation growing up? Man, I was so poor. Man, we didn't have nothing. Therefore, every time I get paid, I try to go buy myself something. Because you're trying to make up for lost time. You need to know how their upbringing affects their thought process towards money. What did you learn from your parents? What's one thing you learned from your parents about money? My parents told me to save every dime I get. Okay, well, if you're the type of person that likes to invest, then someone who likes to save and hoard money, you guys might be unequally yoked. You have to know this about your potential mate. All right. And then how did the way you grew up impact the way you think about money now? Oh, man. When I was a kid, man, we couldn't have nothing. So that's why I buy my kids everything, even though they failing out of school, even though they got behavior issues, they in detention all week long. I still buy them everything because I couldn't afford to have nothing when I was a kid. That psychology is going to be in your marriage, so you need to know that what you're dealing with up front. Now, again, these may not be deal breakers, but you have to at least know what's going on. You have to at least know that, okay, this is how it is. Can I deal with this for better or for worse? Can I deal with this for better or for worse? So if you know that your vow says, I'm going to deal with this for better or for worse, you need to know where baseline is. I need to first know where baseline is. So I used yesterday the idea of somebody drinking an occasional glass of wine. That's baseline. When we met, my wife drinks an occasional glass of wine. What's better? She stops drinking altogether, and she might even prohibit me from drinking, right? I don't drink, but just an example. If she drinks an occasional glass of wine, what's worse? If she becomes a full-blown alcoholic, am I willing to deal with that? Right? So when these money questions, you start talking about these money questions, you need to get their baseline and say, hey, this person is a somewhat of a money hoarder. If it gets worse, that could become that person becoming money controlling in the relationship. They don't spend no money, don't let you spend no money, and now you're fighting about, hey, I can't even go buy a pair of shoes. Are you kidding me? So you need to know at least baseline and then determine, okay, for better or for worse. If this gets worse, Is this something that I want to be dealing with long term? Right, so those are the 5 we went over yesterday. Today we start with a hot topic. Tell me, guys, what do you guys say? What do you guys say about merging accounts? This is a conversation that you have before your significant other becomes significant to you. Let me say it again. These are conversations that you have before your significant other becomes that significant. You want to know all of this stuff before we really fall madly in love. Because we have to cut ties and walk away because some of this stuff is a deal breaker. What do you guys think about merging accounts? Do you have joint accounts when you're married? Is that an absolute? Right? So what you want to know is, if we combine our money into a joint account, am I going to regret it one day? You want to know, why should we combine our money if you save 5 times if I save 5 times as much as you do? Right? How can you possibly think having separate accounts is healthy in a marriage? That's what you want to know, but you just don't come out and say it because you don't want to sound distrustful. You don't want to sound greedy or closed-minded. Right? And again, this is coming from the sage couple. Jennifer says, no, thank you. We shan't merge. We will create a new one. Okay. All right. So ways that you can discuss the topic. Say, did your parents have joint accounts when they were married, or did they keep everything separate? Right? Did your parents have joint accounts, or did they keep everything separate? What's your thought on that? How do you think that served their marriage? How do you think that hindered their marriage? Right? Talk about this kind of stuff before your significant other becomes that significant in your life. You can have these conversations, right? Which arrangement, joint, separate, or hybrid, makes you most comfortable, and why? Which arrangement, joint, separate, or hybrid, makes you most comfortable, and why? It's okay to have this conversation, right? Can we try separate or hybrid approach on a trial basis and then make the decision about joining everything? Right? Can we try it on a trial basis and then we make the decision on whether or not we're going to join everything? John said it's a union, so those accounts should unite. I get it. I mean, this is one of those topics that sometimes you got to be careful. And if you have these conversations on the front end, then you understand, okay, why it might be necessary for us to have separate accounts. Why it might be necessary for us to merge accounts together. Why it might be separate. Why it might be necessary for us to keep shacking in perpetuity and never get married. See, I know a lot of people don't like that, but what you have to understand is a marriage is a business partnership contractually. On paper, your marriage is a business contract. And those that you go into business with, contractually, you're liable for their past history. What they owe, you owe. So you might say, hey, we love each other. Our spiritual connection is great. Our emotional connection is great. Our physical connection is great. But we cannot, for the benefit of us both, become contractual business partners. Some of you are saying, hey, let's jump the broom and let's get this thing up. But if you look at the structure of your financial situation and their financial situation, we might have to deal with the shame that's going to come from our families, our community, saying, why aren't you never getting married? Because neither one of us got our ish together financially. And why would we become business partners when she's got $80,000 in debt? I've got $120,000 in debt. She don't believe this about money. I don't believe this about money. We can be merged as one in a lot of other areas, but we come together and form this business partnership contractually, then that might make us worse off than we are right now. So you got to have these conversations, right? So you want to know what their thought process is in creating joint accounts. So, so what you can ask is, again, did your parents, have joint accounts, right? Yeah, do the homework that leads up to the test. Absolutely, absolutely. What arrangements can we try separate and high risk? Can we try this on a trial basis before we fully commit to bringing everything together? Because you guys know that when you first meet somebody, you don't meet that person, right? I think it's Chris Rock that talks about you meet their representative, right? You meet their authorized signer, right? You meet the person that they send out before you that tries to say all the right things and tries to do all the right things and tries to behave in the right way. This is one reason that I say long-term dating is a must. Before you get married, long-term dating is a must because you have to have time to see who this person really is. I like to say that if you have never really seen that person upset, if you have never really seen that person angry or enraged, if you have never seen that person in an extreme joy and blissfulness, if you have not ever seen that person in an extreme sadness, you don't know that person. See, this person could be all that in a bag of chips, but when they are saddened, they fall into a deep depression for months on end. But if you've been with a person for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and you guys get married and you've never seen that, and then the month after you get married, the dog dies. They're saddened, and now they fall into this deep depression. You never seen that side of them. Right? You've never seen that person mad. And who knows? When you guys move in together, you might do something out of your natural habit that makes that person mad every day. And you don't even know how this person responds or reacts when they're mad. So long-term dating is a must. Another reason long-term dating is a must is because you want to test that person's actions against what they say. See, when we first got together, you were in school. I was a lowlife, but I said, hey, I'm about to get myself back in school. Go ahead and finish up my degree. Because that's what you wanted to hear because you were in school. 4 months down the line, you're fully in love with me. And now school is not even on the table. But if you were challenging and holding this person accountable, when we first met, we started dating, what are your aspirations? What are you trying to do with your life? What do you want? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Oh, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get back in school next semester, get my degree. 2 months in, it's like, hey, did you go ahead and get registered for school? School starts next month. What school? Register for what? You said you was going to take some classes. See, you get the chance when you do the long-term dating thing, you get a chance to call the person out on their BS. Oh, what do you do? Oh man, I'm in real estate, man, about to flip these houses. 3 months in, do you even have a contract on a house that you're going to flip? Did you meet with some contractors? Do you have or are you doing what you're talking about? Or do you just like to hear yourself talk? See, long-term dating allows you to call the person on their BS. But if you are the type of person that dates somebody for 2 weeks and you madly in love, and now you're blind to everything that they say that we're going to do, but they're not actually doing it. They say they're an entrepreneur, but every time you call them, they're with their homeboys playing video games 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Why you don't have no job? Oh, I got my own business. But every time you call them or every time you go see them, they're at their homeboy's house playing Madden or 2K Live or whatever the latest sports game is, whatever they play on the PlayStation or whatever. right? Yeah, I'm about to start this business. All right. So in 30 days, you're going to ask them, so how's that business coming that you about to start? So I like the approach of taking your time in the dating process. When my wife and I hooked up, she was a loan officer. I was studying Cortez sheets, how to buy foreclosures courses. And within 3 months of us hooking up, we had bought a couple foreclosures. She's like, okay, this is what you say you're going to do. You're not really trying to do the whole job thing. Then execute on what you say you're going to do. And we did it. So I built a track record of doing what I say I'm going to do. Sometimes, ladies, you listen to the guy's words and you let his words overshadow his actions. His actions are saying to you very loud, very clear, and very plain, hey, I'm a bum. I'm looking to mooch off you. You've got a good job. You got your master's degree. You got your own place. You got your own car. So I'm just looking to leech off you is what my actions are saying. My words are saying, yeah, I see myself in 2 years running a multi-million-dollar company. I got this idea for this app. I think it's really going to blow up. Yeah, I'm working with my homeboy. He's got some computer classes. It went to school for computers. So we're gonna hook up. And then my homeboy, he took a semester of business. So he's going to do our business plan. That's what he's saying. What he's doing is playing video games all day. What he's doing is hanging out on the corners all day. What he's doing is dropping you off at work in your car because he doesn't have a car. So you're listening to the words and you're riding on cloud nine versus his words, and they're making you blind to what he's actually doing, which is nothing all day. He picks you up in your car from work and the gas tank is on E. And you don't have the gall to ask him, how's that app development coming? Because now you're already in love. So long-term dating, have these conversations on the front end. Sorry for that little rant. We got a little off topic there, but you really have to hold these guys accountable. Right? It says my guy and I have already had the money conversation. He definitely holds me accountable. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. You got to have these conversations. So you want to talk about the joint accounts. What else you want to talk about? Here's another big one that nobody likes to talk about. Respectful spending. Respectful spending. What you want to know is, why the heck did you buy that expensive drone without talking to me first? Why do you always get annoyed when I spend money that I work hard to earn on things that make me happy? That's what you want to know. But you don't want to sound like a parent. You don't want to sound controlling. You don't want to sound confrontational. But there is a such thing as respectful spending. Right? So what you should ask is, what would be an agreeable spending threshold number? Right? What would be an agreeable spending threshold? You know, the dollar amount which makes you want to check in before buying something. Right? Should we both have a spending threshold? Okay, so it's $300. I will never spend more than $300 in a single week or in a single month or in a single whatever time frame unless we both have this conversation about what's going to happen. Right now, believe it or not, I have a $35 business opportunity, and a lot of people tell me that spending threshold is $35. Hey man, I'm going to help you build wealth. I want to help you minimize your taxes, eliminate your debt, help you learn how to invest, help you build some generational wealth. I got to talk to my wife. I was like, dang, I don't know if I ever had to ask my wife about spending $35, but you might have that as your spending threshold, might be $30. So when you go over $30, you might have that check in, and that's cool. That's cool. So what is have that conversation? Our numbers are different. So do you want me to, you want to meet in the middle, or we agree on each other's numbers, right? Okay, this person might have $500. You can spend $500. You're going to ask me why? Because I don't want to have to ask you when I spend $500. You might be saying, nah, we might need to, $500 is a big chunk of change to just leave the account on whatever. Let's talk about, meeting in the middle. There's nothing wrong with having a respectful spending amount, doing respectful spending. It's like, hey, I don't just take, especially if your accounts are merged, I don't just take, $1,000 out the joint account and buy an online marketing course. Unless we talk about it and we agree, and that's a good move for us, for our family, and that sort of thing. So you should be having these conversations. Number 8, financial goals. Financial goals. What you want to know is the business you started after quitting your job isn't earning any money. What are you doing to me? Right? I don't want to live in a small apartment our entire life, or why aren't you helping me save money for a house? Right? Says I earn more, say 20,000 more, and that 2,000 extra. Is that 2,000 extra mine? Right. Good question to have. Say if we earn $20,000 more or $2,000 more, is the extra money mine? How does that work? What is the rules? What is the template that we're going to use? Right? I'm going to bring you 90%, and you don't care what I do with the 10%. Great. So all I have to do is increase the 90%, so my 10% increases, and I can do whatever I want with it. Have that conversation. Have some parameters in place. So you don't want to be talking about the goals like, hey, I'm trying to buy a house. You ain't helping me save. You don't want to sound like a nag. You don't want to sound unsupportive. You don't want to sound pushy. So how can you approach the topic of financial goals, right? Are we trying to buy a house? Are we trying to save till we can have $1 million in our retirement account when we get to 55 years old? What are our financial goals? Right? Long-term and short-term. What are your short-term and long-term goals in life? Make these specific by naming specific dollar amounts. What are you trying to do in life? As we walk down this path together, what do you see yourself financially? You guys know mine is a bill ticket in the next 10 years. And actually, it's less than 10 years. 9 years and 1 month. $1 billion. How do you build a $1 billion empire from scratch in 9 years? I don't know. Ask the founders of Uber. Uber not even 10 years old, worth $3 billion. Right? Airbnb. These companies ain't been around that long. Didn't take them that long. So when you have a good business model, you have the ambition. First, you got to set your sights on that thing, and then you go get it. There you go, get it. Since I love your show, man, keep up the good work. Appreciate that, John. I just trying to bring people, get people's day started on the right track with some good positive energies about it. So you talk about your financial goals. What do we need to do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year to achieve these goals? Again, you got to have goals first, and then you put together actionable steps to help you reach the goals. And it's okay to talk about this stuff on the front end. Again, these are conversations that you have with your significant other before they become that significant in your life. In fact, these are conversations that will help determine whether or not that person becomes significant in your life. In my opinion, these are things that I want to know to help determine whether that person becomes significant. We don't have to be on the same page, but are we in the same book? Maybe I'm a few pages ahead of you, maybe you're a few pages ahead of me, but we are at least reading the same book. Some people are not only not in the same book, they're not even in the same genre. And they're trying to make a marriage work. So have these conversations before your significant other becomes that significant in your life, right? So those, you want to have your financial goals in place so that you can hold one another accountable for reaching those financial goals. If my goal is to buy a house and I'm thinking, and my wife says, I don't ever want to own a house, that's a problem. But it's a bigger problem when we find that out after we're married. Hey, no, I want to live in a condo. I don't ever want to buy a house. I'd rather pay condo fees and have them take care of everything versus me owning a house and having to do maintenance and all that stuff. No. I'm cool with living in an apartment forever because I don't ever want to have to do no yard work. Well, if that's your stance, I need to know that up front before we get married, right? Number 9. How much is enough? Right? How much is enough? Here's what you want to know. I know you're making bank, but don't you care that we never see each other because you're working 14 hours a day? How much is enough, right? How can you possibly be satisfied with your current income and title? This is another big one that we don't talk about. The lack of ambition that we see in our potential mates. We meet our mate and we say, hey, here's where you are. And this again goes to that long-term dating thing. Because if we dated for a little while, and we dated for 8 months, and you show no ambition to elevate your stance, your position, you're completely comfortable and content with where you are, that's a problem for someone who is extremely ambitious. How can you possibly be satisfied where you are? You mean you ain't ever gonna try to become supervisor, manager? You ain't never gonna try to start your own business? You just cool with where you are right now? You want to know, why do you always fight me on buying the nice things that others have? Right? So there's one thing to keep up with the Joneses. There's another thing to reward yourself for hard work. And we've worked hard. I've saved money. I want to buy this. And we got to fight every time. I got to fight every night to prove my love. Where did 5 heartbeats come in at? So every time you want to buy something nice, even though you prepare, you save for it, you budgeted for it, and now I got to fight you to buy. See, these are things that you want to know. How much is enough? How much is not enough? Where's your ambition? Do you lack ambition? Am I willing to put up with that? But you don't want to sound unsupportive. You don't want to sound demanding or materialistic. So here's how you have that conversation. What kind of lifestyle do you want us to have in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? What kind of lifestyle do you want us to have in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Right? Have an honest conversation about that, because hey, man, in 5 or 10 years, I can see us in our dream home, upgrading from our starter home to our dream home, 2-car garage. I'm executive VP over my department. Or okay, now they exhibited ambition, growth. There's growth there, so it's okay. Now you have something to hold that person to, right? How much do we need to earn annually in order to have that lifestyle? Oh man, I see us at that point to live that kind of lifestyle. We're making a combined, $500,000 a year. Okay, so now you have something to work with, work towards, and you have something to hold that person accountable for. Remember, you said we was going to have this lifestyle in 10 years? We're 2 years in, and you haven't even had a raise in the last 2 years. You haven't even applied for that other position that's going to get you closer to being executive vice president. So now you can hold that person accountable to what they said they wanted. Will you or I prioritize work in the short term over quality time with the family so that we can reach our lifestyle goals in the long term? Okay, so if you say this is what we're going to do, and I don't mind you working 14 hours a day, but are we going to work this 14 hours a day? Are we going to make this work just for 3, 4, 5 years? Or do you plan on working 14 hours a day forever? And we just never going to see each other, right? So now you have some goals, you have some parameters, you have some outlines, you have a template in place that you can hold each other accountable to and see where you guys are going. Last but not least, most important topic that is never talked about: kids and breadwinner status. Kids and breadwinner status. What you want to know is, you honestly expect me to stay home with our future kids, even though I have a master's degree? Even though I make the most money in the house, you want me to stay home with the kids? Do you think you have more say in our financial decisions just because you make more money than me? You make all the decisions because you make a little bit more money? See, this is where it gets heavy. And nobody talks about this because, first, we don't even know how much our spouse makes. Why can't you see that it's better for one of us to stay home with the kids, since we lose less money that way by paying for childcare? Right? Are you having this conversation before your significant other becomes that significant in your life? Because if this is your thought process and we're polar opposites, why do I allow you to become significant in my life if this is going nowhere fast? You see, what we tend to do is, when the person says, I don't even want kids, and we say, okay, I love everything else about this. If this person doesn't want kids, that's really a deal breaker, but I'm going to continue to go down this road hoping they change their mind. Yeah, see how that happens? You said before you start dating that I want children. If I deal with somebody who doesn't want children, that's a deal breaker for me. And this person told you straight up, look you dead square in your eye without flinching, said, I don't want children. And you said, oh, but I like everything else about him. I like everything else about her. So I'm going to continue to go down this road, even though the most precious thing to me is eventually having a family. They don't want a family. They want to travel the world as a single couple with no kids. That sounds good, but I eventually want kids. Why would you let that person then become significant in your life to the point that you jump the broom and marry that person, and now you're frustrated because you thought that you changed that person's mind? 10 years in, you're trying to get pregnant, or you're trying to get her pregnant, and they're like, no, I told you when we was dating, I don't want no kids. No, this ain't happening. Oh, but I thought you would change your mind. No, I ain't changed my mind. I still don't want kids. I ain't want kids then, I don't want kids now. Have these conversations before your significant other becomes significant in your life, so you can walk away and find somebody who meets you where you are and wants the same things. So you want to know, do you expect me to stay home when I make the most money? Are you making all the decisions because you make more money than me? Why can't one of us stay home and raise the children? We'll save money on daycare. So that's what you want to know, but you might want to soften those questions, because again, you don't want to come off as unreasonable, selfish, unwilling to pull your own weight. So the way you can practice or approach this conversation, when you imagine the future with kids, do you expect one of us to stay home? And he might say, yeah, you're the woman, I expect you to stay home. And you might say, I ain't staying home. I love my career. Good time to have that conversation before that significant other becomes so significant in your life. How do you feel about one of us making all the money or a lot more money than the other? How does that make you feel? If I'm a woman, if I make more money than you, could you deal with that? You're making more money than me right now, but I'm about 3 months outside of finishing my master's program. That might cause me to leapfrog you in income. Are you comfortable with that? Are you man enough to deal with that? And fellas, you might say, even though you make more money than me, are you still going to allow me to be the man of the house? You make more money. There was a time where my wife made more money than me, but I was still the man of the house. She did not use that and keep that over my head. She didn't use that to strip me of my manhood. She didn't use that to denigrate me or belittle me. She made more money, but I'm still the man of the house. You need to have these conversations before your significant other becomes that significant in your life. Right? Yeah, no compromise. That's all marriage is compromise. That's all it is. If we both want to work full time, how much will childcare cost and how much do we need to start saving for that now? Right? So this goes to planning and understanding your thought process when it comes to working, kids, and taking care of the kids. Making money, who's the bigger breadwinner, all that kind of stuff. How does this affect our relationships going down the road? Valerie says, we honestly never had this much convo before marriage. And that's okay, Valerie. Most of us have never been taught to have these conversations before marriage. But put this stuff on the table now and come to some sort of compromise and start doing some trial runs and say, hey, okay, here's where we are financially. Let's test this out and see if it's going to work. Here's where we are financially. Let's test this out and see that you can still have these conversations. What we tend to do is because we never had the conversations before marriage, we don't want to have them in our marriage because we're afraid that it's going to cause some sort of friction. Well, the actions that you're taking based on the way you think about money, that's causing friction already. So you might as well talk about it and say, hey, here's why I take these actions because this is what I believe about money. Jay Miles, another good one. What about blending families with multiple kids? Man, a whole nother show, Jay. Whole nother show. But you absolutely have to have that conversation, right? I've got kids by another woman. You got kids by another guy. Now we have a kid together. So we're coming together. We got this family. So then we have these kids. We have another adult's input in our intimate circle. We have another adult's input in our intimate circle. And if you don't think that's the case, you're lying to yourself. You and your lady got a kid. She's got a kid by somebody else. You got a kid by somebody else. That kid's parent, that other adult, has input in your intimate circle because you guys share a child together. So they have some input. Your wife's kid's father, your stepson's father, your stepdaughter's father has input into your intimate circle. So there has to be compromise in that. You guys have to work together in that. And that whole thing brings up a bunch of money topics as well. Are you allowed to take money from this household and spend it on the household where your child lives for the sake of your child? Are you allowed to spend more money on your child outside of our relationship than you spend on money on your children in our relationship? Are you allowed to take the child support money that you get from your child's father and spend it on all of our kids collectively? See, these are conversations that you have to have before your significant other becomes that significant in your life. You got to have them. And if you're already married, then it's time to put this stuff on the table and come to a happy median, because what happens is you're sneaking around doing certain things because nobody has really laid out what the actual rule of the house is going to be. She's sneaking around doing certain things because she knows you may not like it, but don't know if you agree to some of the terms. So put the stuff on the table and say, you know what? For the last 12 months, I've been giving $100 a month to my baby's mama because they're struggling over there, and I want to make sure that our kids. I've been paying the light bill over there since I met her. I like to continue to do that for the house where my son lives. Are you okay with that? Put that stuff on the table so you don't have to be sneaking around and tiptoeing around one another when it comes to some of the things that you guys haven't officially agreed on. Time to officially agree on some stuff. Right? Oh, this is my drinking money. But really, this is the money that's going to the other household, and you think your wife, your current wife, can't take or can't stomach that you're giving your first child's mother money on top of the child support that's already coming out of your check. So you never talk about it, and you're lying to your current wife about my drinking money, and really you don't drink. Oh, this is my money I set aside. This is my little allowance money. I'm going to take it. I'm going to party with it. But you're really not going to party with it. You just have some money allocated to take care of your other family. But you haven't really talked about that with your current wife. Guys have to have these conversations, man. Family is a cornerstone of nation. If we're ever going to have a black nation, we have to rebuild and restore the black family. The number one thing that breaks up black families, outside of infidelity, outside of skeletons in the closet, that all families have secrets, outside of all that stuff, the number one thing that breaks up family over all of that other stuff is financial stress and strain. Financial stress and strain. A lot of families, just statistically, in survey after survey after survey after survey, families, husbands and wives say, hey, we've overcome infidelity. What broke us up was our money problems. We couldn't overcome that. She couldn't trust me with money. I couldn't trust her with money. She was making too much money and holding that over my head. He was making all the money and trying to give me an allowance. I can't live that way. Money is a number one cause of divorce, even above infidelity. Even above infidelity, money is the number one cause of divorce. Those money issues. So you think you want to start training and educating your children on money, make them money savvy, but then teach them how to have money conversations with everybody that they're in relationships with. Yes, the significant other, but you can have a homeboy who don't understand a good money relationship, and now he's become a leech. And if you don't understand how to have these conversations and put people in their place when it comes to money, then you can have 4 or 5 different people bleeding you dry because you haven't had proper conversations about how money works and how you deal with money versus how they deal with money. Now, I don't loan friends money. That's just something we don't do. Okay? We set that parameter in the outset. Now, this is before we even become friends. So now we become friends and we're close. He knows not to come to me to borrow no money because I don't do that. I don't want to mess up a friendship over money. So those are the things that you need to put up front in any relationship, but in particular, the intimate relationships, husbands and wives, significant others. You need to be talking about this stuff before your significant other becomes significant, right? So I started to make more money than my ex-husband and we got a divorce. Wow. Yeah, it is money is crazy, and it's really because there's no template, there's nothing agreed upon, there's no compromise. There is, okay, here's how we're going to handle this situation. When it comes to money, here's my approach, here's your approach, here's where we meet in the middle and we both agree. There's some things that we disagree on, but we agree that here's where we meet in the middle. And I'm going to hold to this, even though I don't like some of your terms. You're going to hold to this, even though you don't like some of my terms. But before we let this destroy our marriage, we have an agreement on how we're going to respond in this financial situation. Appreciate that, Eliani. Happy 51st too, man. You don't look a day over 25, but I saw your 51st celebration, so happy belated to you as well. So yeah, we'll have to do a show on blended families. I have a blended family. You know, it was funny when I knew my wife in high school, but she wasn't having no parts of me in high school because I was a mess, right? But later down the line, we hooked back up and we started dating and that kind of stuff. But I told myself, man, I don't want to deal with. I'm the most non-confrontational guy that you will ever meet. So I do not want to deal with baby daddy drama, confrontation. So I'm like, if the woman that I've married got to have no kids, right? And God was like, nah, I got 2 boys over here who need a good father. So she had 2 sons. So I came into the picture when they were 2 and 4 years old and raised them like my own. And then I have a nephew from my deceased brother who we brought into the fold. She had to be okay with that, me spending time and taking care of him. And then we had another situation where a cousin of hers turned out that the cousin's father was not the real father, but we've been in his life forever, and the father just cut him off. So we took that kid in. So I know a little bit about blended families and making all that kind of stuff work, man, and we just made it work. We just made it work. But she had to be okay with it. When I brought my nephew in, when she brought her cousin in, I had to be okay with it and say, hey, you know, we got 5 boys in here already. What's 2 more? What's 2 more? Right? And we made the whole thing work, man. And that's just kind of, you know, that's what we have to start doing a little bit more of, man. We can sit back and look at our sister and talk about how bad her baby daddy is and the fact that baby daddy ain't in her life. Well, why don't you take one of your nieces and nephews and say, hey, you made a mistake. You laid down with a lowlife, but I'm not going to beat you up for it the rest of your life. I'm not going to let the child, my niece or my nephew, suffer because you made one mistake in the heat of passion and you laid down with a lowlife. Maybe 10 years from now, this guy will get his act together. But in the meantime, let me help you with them babies. In the meantime, let me help you with them babies. And when I'm talking about help, I'm talking about full-time help. This one might need to come live with me. You got the other 2, and then we'll swap. He comes and stays with you on the weekends. The other 2 come and stay with me on the weekends. Let's help raise these babies together. But now what we do is we sit back and we talk about how low life the baby daddy is, how much drama the baby mama is having. Nah, man, just step in. Just step in where they will permit. Just step in and say, hey, you know what? I'll take guardianship of this child for the next 10 years while you guys are working your issues out, while you're trying to get on your feet. Hey, we just don't want the kid to suffer because y'all don't all of a sudden don't like each other. We got to do more of that in our community. Again, family is a cornerstone of nation. That's why everything in a public is aimed directly at breaking up the family. Everything, all of the TV programs you watch, all of the commercials, everything in our community is aimed at destroying the black family. Because family is a cornerstone of nation. And if you destroy the black family, you don't have to worry about a black nation. See, they don't care about all these single people having wealth in these independent, wealthy situations. There is no wealthy black families where the family is tight as a fist. There's some individuals who got wealthy, some individual families who got wealthy, but then they're cut off from their brothers and sisters and their nieces. And no, we got to get to the point where I'm going to be the first millionaire in my family, and then I'm going to make sure that all of my brothers and sisters become millionaires, and we're going to tighten this thing up. And then we're going to go lock arms with another family that's doing the same thing. Now you got one family that's tight financially, tight spiritually, emotionally connected one with another. Then you got another family that's tight. Then we lock arms. And then we lock arms with another family and another family. Now you got a community of tight families fighting for each other. That's how you build a black nation. But we got to get back to focusing on building our families. That's where it all begins. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you're looking to join the Black Wealth Movement, then all you got to do is text Black Wealth Movement to 314-874-6887. Monetize My Life Academy for those of you who are already in business and you're looking to figure out social media marketing, you're looking to figure out email marketing, lead capture pages, funnels, all of that kind of stuff. Then Monetize My Life Academy is available for you guys. Got questions on any of that stuff, all you got to do is jump in my inbox. I'm H. Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the black community, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur. Until I talk to you guys tomorrow, I want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, y'all, you deserve it. Peace out.